Hello, everybody. Yes, now we're live. All right. Hello, everybody. This is meteorologist Andrew Pineiro, and we are now currently awaiting the launch. I have been watching the weather. It's looking pretty good. Countdown clock is T minus 17 minutes and 40 seconds, which was actually better than Wednesday. This time, that's when they scrubbed the mission. Hello, Delvin. Delvin, how are you doing? I'm just sending out a couple of things. Okay. So I'm listening to the communications in one ear while I'm also listening to some anything from the computer. But it's looking good. They are continuing stage. I think they said stage 1 fueling. Stage 1 was about 60% full. They started fueling at about T minus 35. I'm going to bring up one thing here, which is the biggest thing was the radar. So let me see here. Here we go. So right here, I circled this time specifically. I know it was a bit of a challenge last night to pinpoint exactly where Cape Canaveral was. But I have here specifically, I circled where Cape Canaveral is. It's right in the middle here. And I'm going to play the radar because this was the big question. That line of thunderstorms. So it's progressing. They just started liquid oxygen fueling. So this is actually further than they went on Wednesday. And I know they interviewed another astronaut that said they got a scrub call, meaning they stopped the launch at like 18 seconds. But if they do scrub the mission today, tomorrow afternoon, I'll find an exact time. That's where the reschedule will be. So right here, that's the line that was a question mark before. And here, there is a little storm off to the west right now. It's clearer to the east because what's happening is they're not just looking at the weather that's at the launch pad. They're looking east of the launch pad into the Atlantic Ocean. Because what's happening is if during launch something goes wrong and they have to do the escape maneuver for the Dragon capsule takes it east into the Atlantic Ocean. So you have to have clear weather in the escape zone for when they parachute down. That's going to be the big thing. And here I do have it queued up. There is our countdown timer, 14 minutes and 8 seconds. Now I do have here, I'll pop this on and off. I don't know if I'm fully allowed to show this because I'm rebroadcasting another YouTube channel, but technically NASA is a government agency, so they can't copyright anything or claim copyright on anything. But here is the view right now of what's happening. So of the sky. So it looks clear over where they are. It's much clearer than it was not too long ago. So that is the big thing. Those thunderstorms right in the background. It's really nothing in terms of like bad thunderstorms. As of right now, they still are saying all weather indicators are green, so just go for launch. And we're getting close, 13 minutes away. All right. So what was also interesting here on the radar, you can see these bands. Stage 1 fueling is still happening. About 6 more minutes until stage 1 fuel is complete. Cryogenic helium is also being loaded. So helium, liquid oxygen, and the kerosene propellant are being loaded in right now. Let's see. Let's bring up a countdown timer. We're getting close to the threshold of T-minus 10 minutes. All right, so we're a little bit over 11 minutes away right now. And I'll bring back up. Here is the live stream. That is currently what we're seeing with the rocket. The weather has cleared up a little bit more. So this is actually looking better than Wednesday. Last night in my live stream, I was saying I'm not too confident with the forecast, but when you look here at this left panel, that's heading out into the Atlantic Ocean. It's not the clearest there. And when I bring up the radar, so right in the middle of that circle, that's Cape Canaveral right in there. So that line of thunderstorms made its way through before. Really, it was just heavy rain. There wasn't any lightning with that. There's a thunderstorm there, Melbourne. Well, right in the middle there's a little bit of rain that is to the west. And there's some more storms. That was from before. That is to the east. And for anybody new that's joining, hello. I believe is that Diana. I know I see. Deborah said she's here. Deborah, if you want to say hello in the chat, I think that's Diana. And then anybody else that's new, we have one of my regulars, Delvin, here in the chat. Another regular I haven't seen yet, Raymond. If you're here, definitely say hello to everybody. So what I was mentioning before was they're not just looking at the radar, the weather at the launch pad. They have to keep an eye east, which going back to here, they changed the view. Looking east with the more rain clouds and the possibility of a thunderstorm, that's the issue, because if something goes wrong inside of the launch and they have to perform the escape maneuver takes them east into the Atlantic Ocean, away from any sort of city. They're doing their last communication with the commander. Capcom's communicating with commanders. Gave it one last little bit of inspiration. The other neat thing I haven't seen before is they have iPads strapped to their thighs. It's kind of interesting. They have a piece of paper that has a pre-flight checklist on there, and then they also have an iPad on it too. So right there, that's the iPad, and then there's a piece of paper on it right now. That's the pre-flight checklist. But this view right here, off into the east, that's the big question mark. Right there. We are way further than we were on Wednesday. It is much closer to launching right now. Wendy, hello. How are you? All right, so Wendy, a little recap here for the weather. It's looking much better. I have circled here on the radar. Cape Canaveral's right in there. There is a little bit of rain to the northwest there. Most of that has cleared out, and we can see here the storm's just heading south away from Cape Canaveral. But they have to keep an eye not just on the weather at the launch pad, but to the east. Because if something goes wrong in the launch and they have to do the escape maneuver, that escape maneuver takes them into the Atlantic and they parachute into the Atlantic. So there's clear air in here. That's the key thing, too. Everything is still green. Go for launch. Coming up on 7 minutes here. So the timer you're seeing on YouTube always has a delay. The live launch timer is here. T-minus 7 minutes is when they start an engine chill down, or an engine chill. So now that we're within 7 minutes, and it's coming up on the YouTube stream too within 7 minutes, that starts the engine chill and then the final top off of fuel for stage 1 and stage 2 inside of the rocket, and then we're pretty much primed and ready to go for launch. And yes, Diana, iPad is in space. What's kind of neat here is as I was looking at this, SpaceX uses exclusively Apple products. So they all use MacBooks. I just heard over the comms that they have started engine chill. So what's going on here is they just communicated to the crew, commander and pilot, that they are doing the last top off, the engine chill, and then about to perform top off. I mean, it's looking really good, but for anybody that missed the very beginning, I was mentioning they interviewed another astronaut that said at 18 seconds they scrubbed the mission. So there is a possibility that this can still be scrubbed, but that possibility is dropping right now because looking east, looking at the launch pad with the weather, it's looking pretty good. They just indicated here the stage 1 fuel loading is completed. Now, I believe what they were saying is stage 1 is entirely this part here. That's all stage 1. Stage 2 is the black part right in there. And the steam that you're seeing, that's the chilling that's happening with that really dense and cold liquid oxygen. Let's see. We're within 5 minutes now. 4.5 minutes until launch. They're doing some final checks. I'm just afraid of a copyright. I don't want to broadcast the audio, so I hear the audio in my ears. So they said they're about to retract the strong back. So the strong back looks like this arm that's holding the Falcon 9 rocket in place. And strong back retract has started. So this, I think they said, is going to move 45 degrees away from the rocket. Now look how cool and calm and collected these two are. But I'm hearing we're about 3 minutes away from launch. for the live countdown timer. Just under 4 minutes on the YouTube launch countdown timer. This is definitely exciting. And thank you all for joining. This is really cool that we're able to just do a live stream like this. They are ready to go. Now, what's interesting with the Dragon capsule from SpaceX specifically is theoretically you do have a commander and a pilot inside the capsule here. So they retracted right here. There's that arm. They retracted it away. But inside the capsule with those two astronauts, they technically don't do anything. They actually just observe. All of the maneuvers and all of the thrusts that happen on the rocket happen from mission control. So they're just really for riding. So they just said stage 1 is fully fueled and locked off. Stage 2 is still loading, almost loaded. About T-minus 1 minute and 40 seconds, the strong back will be removed a little bit further. Stage 2 is almost done with fueling. It is so precise. We are a minute and a half away, and they are just about to finish. Fueling's not done yet. Ooh, what is this? That looks like a sprinkler, because it looks like there's no rain over there. And going to the radar quickly, there's no rain over there. So stage 2 has been locked and is full. So on the official countdown, we are less than a minute, 45 seconds away. On the YouTube stream, a minute and 16 just because of that still delay with YouTube broadcasts. Again, I want to say thank you all for joining, too, on this historic moment that we are 1 minute, less than 1 minute away. Let's see. 20 seconds on the official countdown there. So they are arming for launch. So in real time, this is what's happening. 3, 2, 1. That is takeoff in real time. We're at 33 seconds here for the countdown. There's the countdown timer they have. 28, 27. Isn't this exciting? All right. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. There it goes. We launch. There it goes. Yay! We actually got the launch. All right. At the bottom, there we go. At the speed, we're at almost 300 miles per hour. All right, we are a go. We're good. So it is launched. Look at it go. Radar still looks good as they start to make their way out. So now they're saying they're throttling down for the period of maximum dynamic pressure, the maximum amount of pressure that the rocket will produce. Look at that. Over 1,000 miles. That's kilometers per hour. Sorry, I thought that was miles per hour. But in science, what you have to get is something called the Earth's escape velocity, which is the speed to get out of Earth's gravity. Going back to a little science lesson here, we have 9.8 meters per second squared as the acceleration of gravity. So you have to accelerate faster than that. Now we can see stage 1 is just about complete. They're pulling about 3 Gs right now, too. Look at that. So about plus 244, they said. The next stage is going to light. I hear a lot of applause on the stream. There we go. So 244. So about right now on the countdown clock is when they lit the stage 2. Here's the view from space of the rocket. So about 20 seconds, stage 2 will light. Look at that speed. So they said they are throttling down the engines on the first stage and about to split. And then stage 2 is about to light. There's the view. Stage 1 has been separated. So a successful separation. They're lighting right now. Stage 2. There's the astronauts. So stage separation has been confirmed. So the engine's ignited. You can see it heating up the thrust cone. And you can also see the speed acceleration has slowed down. 125 kilometers above the Earth. They are in orbit. They're not in a stable orbit, but they are out of the atmosphere. So right now they said they are in the secondary abort zone if something goes wrong, which is going to take them from about South Carolina up through the eastern seaboard. So if there is something going wrong still, their abort would take them into the ocean somewhere along the East Coast. Shar, hello. How are you? Shar, isn't this so exciting? It's good to see you again. Or here, at least see you in the text and the chat. This is exciting. So now that this is fully lit, the acceleration has picked up a little bit. Acceleration slowed down as we had staged a separation between stage 1 and stage 2. They're almost they're 182 kilometers above the Earth right now. So they just said this is now almost 7,000 miles per hour. Nominal trajectory continuing. And you can see my mouse is kind of showing blocking it, but at the bottom here when I move the mouse, this is where the a little like clock. So they're in the middle of here this MCO and entry burn. So they're about halfway between that stage separation and an entry burn. Now, what's also interesting, they're just mentioning they're not showing it from either of these views, but the stage 1 rocket, or the stage 1 part of the rocket, the Falcon 9, is self-guided and this reusable. That's really cool. So the rocket is going to fly itself back to a drone ship. So basically one drone is going to land on another drone, and hopefully it is going to land vertically on the drone ship, and the drone ship will then take itself back to shore, and then they can reuse the rocket. Okay. So on the left here, that is the back of stage 1 of the Falcon 9, and on the right here, that is the stage. Oh, that's the back of stage 2. Sorry, this is stage 1. The stage 1 booster is this, and it's making its way back to Earth. It's flying itself. SpaceX or NASA is not really controlling it too much. It's guiding itself. And then when this starts to get closer to the drone ship, basically two drones are going to be talking to each other. Two robots are communicating with each other so they can get a successful landing. I think that's just fascinating. Shar, that is really cool, seeing the first one launch. Now, I did post on my Instagram. I was at the last shuttle launch in 2011. I was within 1 mile of the space shuttle on the launch pad, and that was so exciting. So this burn is happening right now on the stage 1 of the Falcon 9 rocket. It's going to last about 36 seconds. You can see right now the two astronauts, Bob and Doug, are pretty much being pushed back into their seat from the thrust because they're still experiencing about 3 Gs. Second engine cutoff, they just said, and here on the stage 1, that was it. So that was one of the burns to slow it down. It's just so amazing. It's such a, like I just said, it's a cool view for this to be basically flying itself backwards back into the atmosphere to land on the drone ship. Raymond, hello, how are you? So they said they're about 20 seconds away from SECO, which is second engine cutoff. So there's still the back of stage 2. So now they're in the final abort zone, meaning if something goes wrong now and they have to abort, it would either be a split between aborting into orbit, and also there's the drone ship, or they would abort to Ireland. So they went from basically New York to Ireland right now. So this is the drone ship. Right there, there's the SpaceX logo. That is the target. The stage 1 booster right here, that stage 1 booster will be landing on that drone ship. And there's no one on the drone ship. Oh, there it is. That's just so cool. All right, so this was the first Falcon 9 rocket to carry humans to orbit. And you can see on their panels there, that right there, that is the trajectory. So they went basically from Florida up the East Coast, across the ocean where Ireland is, and that's showing where they are right now, the little dot. So they had second engine cutoff. Look at the little dragon stuffed animal there floating. Now they are experiencing microgravity. Or 0G. And Raymond, yes, we did have some severe weather last night too. That was kind of interesting. And this, Shar, you said it right. This is mind-boggling. My ears are getting sweaty, so my AirPod fell out. Laura, hello. How are you? All right. So now, this is the SpaceX quarter. This view is very interesting. This is not Houston. SpaceX is entirely controlling this flight, not Houston. So they said this is about 125 miles. About 125 miles, maybe 130 miles above the Earth. Think about that. They're only 130 miles above the Earth, and they're in space. That really tells you how thin the atmosphere really is. So you can see here we got a NASA rep and we got a SpaceX rep. There is separation here. That is stage 2 separation. So Dragon separation confirmed. So stage 1 and stage 2, the Falcon 9 rocket essentially is completely separated from the Dragon capsule. So now Dragon is officially in orbit and on its way to the International Space Station. Wendy, yes, it's still nerve-wracking. Because although they're past the most dangerous part, they still got a little bit to go. Oh, Raymond, I didn't know last night, you said around 6, there was a tornado warning. So anybody else here, Raymond is one of our regulars, and he's more upstate in New York from the Capital District, and there was a tornado warning by that area. Anybody that's from Nanuet knows that joke, and Shar, yes, they got up there faster than getting across Route 59 on a Saturday afternoon before all this started. So they just said nose cone deploy in progress. So what they're saying here, and you can kind of see a little diagram of it on their view. The nose cone is opening or deploying right now. The nose cone, the tip of the capsule, is where, right up here, that is where the Dragon capsule will attach to the International Space Station. So there are the astronauts. There's the back. Oh, and there's the sun with the blackness of space. So now that they were experiencing zero gravity and they were out of thrust, it looks like the commander, he undid the straps of his boots. The feet are strapped in for the whole thing. And there they go. They depressurized their suits. They removed their helmets or helmet visors. Now they're getting more comfortable. So what's happening total? So they're getting a little bit more comfortable now. One removed their feet restraints. The other's probably going to remove his feet restraints soon. And so they were, before launch, they were sitting in position for 3 hours before. And now it's going to be a 19-hour journey to the International Space Station. So, the weather. If we go back to where Cape Canaveral is, just real quick in here. Ooh, where we go? There we are. There's Cape Canaveral. Still clear. So we had that very minute window of opportunity. And we are plus 16 minutes now since takeoff. I always find it fascinating to see. We see the stars every night when it's clear. But when you're up in space, you don't see the stars. You're seeing this black. Just pure blackness of space. So we saw before that stage 1 landed properly on the drone ship. I'm assuming stage 2 will also be landing. They just flashed. They're trying to, I guess, connect to stage 2 at that time. The weather cooperated. All right. So if anyone's interested, if you just, even though this is a long address, if you want to read a little bit more, this is, if you just type in nasa.gov, it'll take you right here where you can read a little bit more about this. And also, I'm briefly going to go to SpaceX. So here, there's a closer look of the astronauts in training. Let me see. So here was a previous launch. They had the Dragon capsule designed for cargo. And this is a little illustration of the escape maneuver. So this is if something went wrong. Stage 1 and stage 2 were still connected there. And here, that's the thrusters that will get the Dragon capsule away for the escape maneuver. And this is the next part of it. This is called Starship from SpaceX. This is going to be the next lunar lander. That is a rendering of the next lunar lander. Because that is SpaceX's next objective, is to get people back to the moon. Let's see, and now they're just going through a little bit of a debrief here. All right. So let's go over a little bit of a recap of the whole event here. So, first attempt on Wednesday. The weather was a big concern. And the weather being a big concern, safety is always number one. With safety being number one, that doesn't matter if it's a history making or not. The safety of those astronauts is like I said, number one, and that means they scrubbed the mission because there was a not really a thunderstorm risk. What was happening is we have the ability to measure the electrical activity that is in the atmosphere, and the electrical activity was a little bit too high for launch. And what that means is when the spaceship or the rocket, the space shuttle, whatever was being launched, because it's going so fast, it's basically piercing the atmosphere. And when it's piercing the atmosphere, it can create a thunderstorm. So if there's increased electrical activity in the atmosphere, when you're piercing it, you create static electricity, and it can cause lightning strikes on the space shuttle or the Falcon 9 rocket here. Tomorrow at 10:30. It basically 19 hours, so that's 5 hours. Yeah, so about 10:30 is probably when they're going to be docking with the International Space Station. 19 hours from now. I'm not sure if I'm going to go live for that. But it was really cool to be able to go live on YouTube with this. And now the NASA administrator is talking, and the NASA administrator is saying how space exploration is not forgotten. It was kind of interesting too, because when the astronauts were heading out to the rocket, they were listening to AC/DC Back in Black. We're back, baby. That was the whole thing, and that is something, I know I'm trying to avoid politics, but in politics, this is something that is completely bipartisan. Everybody wants to get back into space. And no problem, Wendy. So yeah, if you actually look, I'm not sure if they're going to show it, but let me switch back here. So this is NASA's YouTube channel. If you just go into YouTube and type in NASA, you'll get their YouTube channel. So he is the NASA administrator. So he's in charge of NASA. And they're just talking right now. But if you, about 10:30ish tomorrow, go to NASA's YouTube channel. They may be broadcasting the docking of the capsule with the Dragon capsule with the International Space Station. All right. So that was exciting. Does anybody else have any sciencey questions? If not, we are going to end the stream right about now, because I really appreciate everybody joining. Raymond, you have a really good point. For social distancing, still with this pandemic, NASA was the ultimate in showing how social distancing and quarantining work. Because the two astronauts, because they in the capsule, they have to be so close. They've been quarantining together for a long time, and they've had multiple COVID-19 tests to make sure they're both positive or both negative. Because it would be very bad if one of them was positive and then they're flying up to the International Space Station. Because think about it. There's 3 astronauts right now in the International Space Station. There's one American, and I forgot the other 2 countries that are there. They're the safest. They were up there before coronavirus COVID-19 even started. So they're the safest. So they want to keep everybody safe and not bring that virus into the International Space Station. Yes, Wendy, it was definitely fun to be able to share this moment with you and with everybody watching. It was history in the making. The future for this means we are now in the age of commercial spaceflight. Don't remember when, but the first commercial air flight, I don't remember when that was, but essentially that's when we started to be able to buy tickets to go on an airplane. Whatever year that was, think about that. We're going from that point to now in 2020, we're commercializing space. This was the first time a private company, SpaceX, has been able to make a space vehicle. NASA usually was the only one that did that with the space shuttle and the Saturn rocket, like the Saturn V rocket. But now the 2 main players in the game is SpaceX, because they're the ones that are right now, and Boeing. If you actually go to Boeing, you can see their capsule. So SpaceX has the Dragon. I forgot what Boeing called their capsule. But those 2 companies, Boeing and SpaceX, are the 2 private companies that are really leading the charge for getting Americans into space. And to answer that question, Raymond, about COVID-19 getting there, if it was inside of either of the astronauts, yes, because you have to maintain an atmosphere and you have to maintain a habitable environment inside the capsule. It's basically the same thing as in Earth. I don't think the G-force would do anything to the virus. So I think if it was in them, they would bring it up to the space station. Yeah, so if either of them were infected, I definitely think the virus would survive the flight or the launch from Cape Canaveral to the International Space Station. All right, so it sounds like NASA is ended their stream. All right. So this was definitely exciting. I'll just show you here real quick. They're doing a little demo. There's a replay of the launch. It was really cool to see because I saw the last space shuttle. Oh, I didn't know that. So there's President Trump, Vice President Biden, and I don't know who the other person was. I was there at the shuttle assembly building, or the vehicle assembly building, because they don't have the shuttle anymore. Launch America. All right. So that was definitely exciting. It is history making now. Think about the possibilities. So say in 50 years from now, you might be able to buy a ticket to go into orbit. And Shar, you are very welcome. It was good to hear from you. I hope you're staying safe. I haven't seen you in a long time since we were back in the store being open. I remember last time I think we worked together was when you got the MacBook Pro. But it was fun. Please stay safe, everybody. And if anybody else wants to, you can feel free to subscribe to the channel. I got that link down below, that little subscribe button. And that is it for today's launch. I will post on my social media account, which is at WeathermanAP on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram if I'm going to go live tomorrow with the docking of the Dragon capsule with the International Space Station. Otherwise, that wraps this up. Yes, Shar, I hope to see you again very soon. We'll see what happens with everything going on. But be safe. Thank you all for joining. This is meteorologist Andrew Pineiro, and hopefully I'll see you all in that next video.